Today we're going to be talking about that feeling we get sometimes when we listen to music where we have that shiver down our spine, that exciting, visceral feeling that music can give us. How does that happen? Well, it can happen in a lot of different ways, but today we're going to be talking about a specific way, and I'm calling it musical tension. Tension often sounds like a bad idea or something we want to avoid. We think about it, tension in our back or tension in our lives. But in fact, without a sense of tension, sometimes we don't feel release. And that's really what great music does. Great music uses those feelings of release and building up tension and all of that to create moments that make excitement happen for everyone who's listening. One of my favorite composers is Felix Mendelssohn, who was a genius right from birth. He was born into a really illustrious, well-to-do family, and from an early age he obviously showed a lot of musical talent. Mendelssohn wrote a few pieces which are still part of the standard repertoire in his teens. So today we're looking at the Octet, which he wrote when he was 16 years old. It's unbelievable to think about. One of my favorite moments in all of music is the first ending of the first movement. What does that even mean? Well, a lot of the music that we listen to in the classical repertoire, a portion of them were composed in a form called sonata form. If you don't know what sonata form is, I invite you to check out my previous episode. The link is in the description box below. So the Mendelssohn Octet actually begins with this glorious theme, which has this rising triadic feeling of the notes going up the chord and then a cascade down. So already Mendelssohn is showing a piece that has a ton of energy in it. Those exciting outbursts, lyricism. And after the transition in this piece, we get the second theme. It's completely different. Instead of all of this upward and downward motion, it's lyrical. But then at the very end, he reminds us of the first theme, showing even at 16 how really, really smart and clever Mendelssohn is. So here we go. This is the end of the exposition. Exciting music, but we have to get back to the home key. We've gone to the dominant, and now we have to go back to the tonic. So how does he do that? Here we go. Now, if you're listening along and it's your first time listening, you're like, when is the violin going to go down? They can't keep going higher. Are they going to go all the way to the top? And then they do. And that creates a sense of expectation and what we started this video talking about, tension. Because there is a tension in the line and in the melody where our expectations, we don't know what to make of them. We know that the music wants to go somewhere, but can the limits of the instrument make that happen, or is he going to have to make a change? And in this case, it's one of the most just visceral, exciting moments in chamber music where the violin goes all the way up to the high E flat. One of the other most amazing moments in this movement is the ending, actually, the final part of the piece, which we call the coda. Mendelssohn, again, does something so exciting with using the musical language that he knew to create tension and release. 5/1 is such a visceral part of our musical experience. The idea of 5 going to 1. Actually, one of my favorite songs when I was a teenager, one of the very few songs that I liked that wasn't opera or chamber music, was Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. The entire song, actually, in a way, except for that little break at the end, is 2-5-1. 2-5-1. How does this deal with Mendelssohn? Well, once we get to the end of a piece, we're looking for that very final cadence. The game that composers will play with the tension of getting to 5 and then thinking, is that it? Is the 1 coming? Lead people somewhere, but then take it back and lead them and take it back. That's what really makes great music have that visceral feeling into it. So in the Mendelssohn, just keeps going. And then we have the same note at the top, but different chords at the bottom. That's the 2. Going to 5-6-4. And what's going to happen? Here we go. And that's it. That's the biggest moment of tension in the entire piece right there. So these are just little examples of trying to dissect the rainbow, right? Because at the end of the day, this music is moving us no matter if you know what a 4/3 suspension is, or if you know what cadential motion is, or harmonic rhythm. All of this stuff is what we try to show in explaining what just happens naturally. But the main thing to remember is that all of this is a language, and we're dealing with dialects within a language. So Mendelssohn is a dialect, Mozart is a dialect, but they're all under the same language of this European Western tradition. And it's that idea that music can function in a way in which we can understand and that we can discern what the composer is saying to us within this language is what allows for those moments to come alive and what makes music great.